It's important to know your numbers because the numbers don't lie. How can I make sure that I'm walking that line where I'm not too hung up on the numbers, but I'm also not ignoring them?
You have to know where you stand against your expectation. For example, if I'm a call center agent and I'm expected to be able to sell 30 MVPs or maintenance agreements a month, breaking it down to what I call the reduction to the ridiculous. And in that example, if there's 30 days in the month and my goal is 30, I need one per day, breaking a big goal down to a simple daily target. Okay. You're on your way.
It's not a hang up anymore. It's empowering.
Yeah. I have to look at the numbers as an indicator, quickly put them away, and now get to work. If I'm driving a car, right? You use the dashboard. I look down, I'm analyzing. I look up, I'm living. And you want to spend most of your life living. And that's, if you're looking down and spending too much time in the numbers, you're operating from the head. And you want to make sure that you balance that and operate from the heart as well. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Wisdom of Wrench podcast. My name is Kevin Comerford, and I have my co-host,
Amanda Meyer. Hi, everybody.
In studio, in effect, excited to be here today. We also have behind the mic and behind the computer system, Andrew Zaragoza.
Hey, everybody.
Andrew is helping us technically, also helping us with a lot of great insight. If you've listened to a couple of the past podcasts, he's always there to interject some great stuff. So looking forward to today. Today is a culture episode where we're talking about a common service language that we utilize inside Wrench. And I really love this one. And I really think this one is going to be helpful for that call center agent, for that technician, for that manager, for that owner, for that president. This runs the gamut. This concept that we're talking about today is for everybody. And Amanda and I are going to do the best job today that we possibly can in making sure that everybody understands that, hey, if I'm an accounting person, how does this relate to me? If I'm a call center agent, how does this relate to me? So what is the common service language that we're talking about today?
In God we trust. In everything else, bring me data.
Yes. In God we trust. And for everything else, bring me data. Okay. It's a biggie. Let's unpack this one, Amanda.
It's a big one. Now, you and I we've butt heads about data quite a lot in the last 11 years.
We have. We have.
So we're no strangers to data. And there's a lot of power in the idea of know thy numbers. But I know that this one's particularly close to you because you've seen a lot of call center agents, service techs, salespeople, owners in your time. And you've been fooled before, right?
Yeah, I would say, like you said, it all starts with know thy numbers, and as someone who wants to believe in people, like meaning I have made the mistake of being too emotionally connected to another human being, and when I say that, I'm talking about getting excited about a new person that's coming on board, whether it's a call center agent or someone that's going to come in as a CFO or a salesperson, whatever, just getting excited about wanting them to do well and giving them the benefit of the doubt. And then only to be snowed, only to be told by this person what they're going to do for me, how they're going to go out and sell all these products and services, or how they're going to go out and be a great technician for us. When at the end of the day, the results never live up to, or they didn't live up to what they said.
Yeah. I know in the call center where that would show up for me a lot is you interview someone, they're super likable. You really like the way that they can present themselves. You know, they're great at role practicing. They sound great. They have this great sales feel. You know, it's not too aggressive. It's not too little. Like they always ask them for the sale. They say all the right things. And then in practice, over time, you look at the data and the numbers aren't there. And you keep asking yourself the question, I don't understand. Like they sound so good. Everything looks right on paper except for these numbers? Why don't the numbers match up? And I think emotional attachment, to your point, can definitely be the big hang up there.
Yeah. I know this person is going to do great. And
I feel it.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of a particular salesperson like you that came through the university, and he was by far the best role practice person that I had ever seen, that I'd ever witnessed. He could role play. He could role practice. He sounded so eloquent. When we got him out in the field, there was no results. He struggled, closed at like 40%.
Oh.
And it was like, wait a second. Wait, is this the person that I saw when he was going through the university? And what's happening when he gets out in the field? And so what I've realized through this common service language item is your actions speak so loud, I can't even hear what you're saying. That's how I've had to live my life now. Because I've also felt like many times I'm from Missouri.
The show me state.
Exactly.
You set that up really well.
The show me state.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. So the show me state, like, okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna chill out my emotions and while I'm talking to this person and interviewing this person, and let's just let them show us.
The numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
So this common service language, I've mentioned before, you and I have not talked about this one a lot, although we are both pretty data-driven people. What are the traps that we fall into as managers when we get too data-focused?
So you bring up a great point with regards to how, to me, this is a head versus a heart thing. Because I also think if you focus too much on the numbers, it can be a challenge. For example, when I'm studying numbers, or I'm totally operating from the head. I'm operating from my mind, totally cerebral. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm in that kind of critical state of analytical state, I should say, not critical, analytical state. And if I stare at the numbers and I get anxious about the numbers, say I'm off goal on something, by staring at them and looking at them over and over again, they never improve. I have to get out of that cerebral head state, and I have to switch over into the heart state, which is I've got to take action. I got to move. I got to do the things that the numbers told me what to do. They tell a story. They are an indicator. I now need to go and take the action, because it's the action that is going to actually improve the numbers, not the studying of the numbers, not staying in that analytical zone.
Okay, I got you. So I have to dumb this down for me.
Okay.
So data can create fear. What we want is for it to create action. It should guide us.
Correct.
Not stop us.
Yeah, data can create fear. It also can create excitement.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it can create a number of different emotions. Always remember that it's the action that improves the numbers.
Right. Or keeps the numbers up.
That keeps the numbers up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about know thy numbers.
Okay.
Because there is a delicate balance, right? It's important to know your numbers. It's important to make sure that you have the data, because the numbers don't lie. The data tells a story. How do I, as a call center agent, service tech, salesperson, how can I make sure that I'm walking that line where I'm not too hung up on the numbers, but I'm also not ignoring them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the big thing is you have to know where you stand against your goals. You have to know where you stand against your expectation. For example, if I'm a call center agent and I'm expected to be able to sell or to get a client happily involved in 30 MVPs or maintenance agreements a month, right? I need to know where I'm at. If there's 30 days in the month, there's 30 days in a month. I know I need to get one per day. If I'm at day 15, I should be at 15. Where am I at? So knowing, like breaking it down to what I call the reduction to the ridiculous. And in that example, if there's 30 days in the month and my goal is 30, I need one per day. So on day 20, I should be at 20. And just knowing that, breaking it down to the reduction to the ridiculous, breaking a big goal down to a simple daily target, you're on your way. Okay. You're on your way.
It's not a hang up anymore. It's empowering.
Yeah.
Okay.
If then I am too focused on the numbers, where all I'm thinking about, and because I have absolutely been there before, where I can almost be consumed by the numbers. They create anxiety inside of me. They almost create analysis paralysis, where I'm analyzing them so much I do nothing. And I wonder, why are these numbers staying the same? Well, Kevin, you're doing nothing. There is no action happening. You are just you are coming in and doing the same thing over and over again, which is and expecting different results, which is the definition of insanity. So I have to look at the numbers as an indicator, quickly put them away, and now get to work. It's like if I'm driving a car, right? And you use the dashboard, right? How do you use the dashboard versus what you see all day? Like I look down at the dashboard, I see that everything's okay. I'm going 70 miles an hour, whatever, 65 in the speed limit, whatever. I'm going 70 miles an hour. And now it's time to let that go and look up and live my life. I look down, I'm analyzing. I look up, I'm living. And you want to spend most of your life living. And that's, if you're looking down and spending too much time in the numbers, you're operating from the head. And you want to make sure that you balance that and operate from the heart as well. And the heart, once again, Amanda, is taking action.
Okay. That's a perfect metaphor, I think, for how to use data as a tool and not let it run you.
Yes.
I like that. Talk to me about the Oakland A's.
Yeah, they perfected this in the early 2000s. And there was a movie that starred, maybe you know him, Brad Pitt.
I think I've heard of him. Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Angelina's husband.
Yes.
I got you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was called Moneyball.
Yes.
And in the movie, they talk about the Oakland A's, which in Major League Baseball, they have the lowest payroll of any other team. In the example in the movie, the New York Yankees spend $200 million a year getting the very best players. The A's budget was about 30 to 40 million a year. So 30 to 40 million compared to 200 million. How do you compete, right? They can go out and get all the great players. Well, Billy Beane, played by Brad Pitt, went to work on changing the way that all the scouts and all the managers looked at performance for baseball. They went and studied the numbers versus seeing if a guy was 6'5", weighed 230 pounds, and could jump however far. There was a lot of the old school way of baseball was if the person was built well, they're going to perform well.
Yeah, it was like a perfect 5 or something.
Yeah, they have a 5-tool player or whatever.
5-tool player, that's what it was, yeah.
And Billy Beane and the Oakland A's totally dispelled that and said, look, we only care what the results are. I don't care that this catcher, and they had a catcher in particular, was overweight. We don't really care. At every level, he has performed incredibly well. So we want him. And it's really just going back to trusting the results and the numbers. Say all they tell the story.
So this is where you and I like to butt heads, I think, when we talk about like the call center and stuff, which is that it's the balance of understanding your numbers and also maintaining the identity behind the numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers are not why you exist, right? The numbers are not the end game. Usually.
Yeah.
They're not the end game usually.
Yeah.
They're the tool to get you where you need to go, but they're not the purpose.
So what you're saying is there were times that I could get too focused on the numbers.
I know when you and I when we'd squabble, it would be I think sometimes I'm going to give this to you. Sometimes it was me getting emotionally attached, right? There were things that I'd get emotionally attached to, and you were really good about walking the line of where do we make concessions? Where do we need to hold fast? But I know that it's the conception of what good data looks like is where you and I would tend to come to bouts. And that was always, what's the identity of the call center that we have? What do we believe makes our call center great based on, what we expect from our team? A good example of that is average call times. There are so many call centers in general, not necessarily in Wrench, but in general, that focus on low call times. I want to say Comcast is one of them, Comcast or Verizon, where they have like a 2.5 minute like that should be their average call time, and they focus on that. It's one of their primary KPIs. And it can be really easy for us to say, well, how come our call times are so much longer? Like, why aren't we working on that? It's like, okay, well, I agree that the number is high in comparison, but the identity of our call center is not that we want fast call times. It's that we want meaningful calls.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great. You were so good. You were always so good balancing the numbers with the emotional health of the people in the call center. And you've probably seen it where managers can be too focused on just the numbers.
The number, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I and if you're too focused on the number, what happens to your people?
They disappear is really what happens. They're not happy.
Why is it that they disappear?
I find that if a manager is too focused on their numbers, their people begin to feel like a number.
Okay, so this common service language is in God we trust, and for everything else bring me data. Yeah. But we're almost dispelling data. Wait a second.
No.
Wait a second. So how do we bring this back? How do we bring this back? Because data results are so important, yet we're also talking about how data and numbers can be so detrimental.
So I know what I come back to is you've used the blood and water analogy before when we talk about the purpose of a business. So the core purpose of Service Champions, for instance, it's not revenue and profit. A human body, oh gosh, I'm going to mess this up.
You got it.
Okay. A human body needs blood and water to exist, but it's not why a human exists. The same is true for a business, which is that a business needs revenue and profit to exist, but it's not why it exists. The numbers are not why the business exists. We do need those numbers, though, to exist, I think, right? That's the line that we draw with data, which is that we do need that data in order to continue to thrive, but it's not why we exist as a business or as a person. We still need it, though.
Yeah.
And we have to trust it. We have to make sure that we have and trust the data that's given to us, because it does help us make directionally smart decisions that then benefit our people, that then benefit and feed the core purpose that we actually have.
Yes.
It's a delicate line for sure, because it can be easy to dispel data just as much as it can be to put it up on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Such a fine line.
Yeah. So if my son, who's a baseball player, is so caught up in looking at his stats, right? That he forgets that he's got to get out into the cage and take swings and go see his coach. And but he's so consumed with the data that can be detrimental.
Right.
Yet having the data and knowing where you are, where you, again, you look at it. I say look at it and let it go. Look at it, let it go.
The same as the car metaphor, I think.
Yeah.
Another way to just perfectly illustrate how we have to walk this line of having the data and then living life.
Yeah, and I think, Amanda, a lot of managers, in my experience, have the data. And what I want to give them is how to use the data. Because I've seen many managers leave money on the table, in my experience.
Okay, talk more about that. That's from looking at the data too much or not looking at it enough?
Well, it's from looking at the data and failing to take action. And I had a great, great friend of mine, Leland Smith, tell me a story one time where he had one of his salespeople, and the salesperson went 0 for 11. They went on 11 sales appointments, and they went 0 for. They swung and missed 11 times, if I want to use a baseball analogy. And Leland brought that salesperson into his office, and he approached the conversation with curiosity. Hey, is everything okay? Are you all right? Share with me what may be tripping you up. Is there something going on? How can I help you? He asked a number of questions, approached it with curiosity rather than blame. Like, what are you doing? How do you realize you're 0 for 11? No, that would be the wrong way to do it. But approach a conversation with curiosity to look to gain understanding. That's what he did. Brought the person in, person shared with him that he was having some personal challenges in his life. Leland asked how he could help. Person shared. Leland was able to help out. I have no idea what the particulars were on how he could help out. Maybe it was just being an ear. But what I do know is the next 21 calls that salesperson ran, he sold all 21 of them. He went from going 0 for 11 to 21 for 21.
Is that real? Are you setting me up right now?
I almost couldn't believe it myself when Leland told me this.
Wow.
He sold 21 for the next 21. And that's what I mean when I say that managers could be leaving money on the table. Whereas if you see somebody that's struggling, and you know they're struggling, by just reaching out to them and having a conversation with them and checking in, letting them know that you know, hey, is everything okay? I noticed that you've been struggling a little bit recently. Is there anything I can, or you've had challenges recently, however you want to verbalize it. Is there anything I can do to help you? So now they know you know. That's number one. They know you're there to support them. They know you care enough to call them. What happens more times than not is they go out and they start performing. Whereas if they hadn't had that discussion, they would have been leaving a bunch of money on the table.
Yeah, that's super actionable. If I'm distilling that.
Yeah.
If you see that data is creating a burden, either on you or on someone else, share the burden. Because it'll lighten the load.
Yeah. And what tell me more about that. Share the burden.
Well, so when we were starting this conversation, where my head was at was if I'm looking at the data, I'm looking at my numbers, and therefore I need to take these actions. But this is a good example of having a more holistic approach, which is if I see someone else's numbers and I see that it's created a burden on them, reach out to them and help them share that burden.
Got it. So it's a lot less heavy on themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you are leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
I think the one team, one score that we talk about here, at least, it can apply across departments too. If we see that there are struggles, go seek out how you can help. Go share that burden because it'll lighten the load.
Yeah.
The ways data can help us. Data is good.
Data.
We came back around.
Data is good when it's used with really good intentions and you approach it with the heart, because clearly in the example that we gave and the one that you gave as well, when if you need to share the burden, you're going to somebody from the heart. Leland went to that salesperson from the heart and said, hey, what can I do? What can I do? This also shows up as well before you even hire somebody. Because I'm a firm believer that the greatest indicator of future results are past results. I wish we had a better indicator of what future results are going to be, but there's not. The greatest indicator is, okay, what has the person done in the past? That's why I'm big on, hey, show me some of your credentials and what you've done in the past to demonstrate performance, to demonstrate leadership, to demonstrate whatever. And it may be, they were above budget at a past job, or they killed it. Like I want to know that this person has had some past success. And I want to know what their results were before I hire them, because again, I've made the mistake of buying into somebody with words, buying into them telling me how much they're going to do for the service department.
What I have written down is the numbers don't lie, people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well said.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm often reminded of something funny my mother taught me. My parents both had a business, as you know, before I started mine. And she used to always, when I was brand new in the business, I was young, I was wet behind the ears, and she was already teaching me, hey, you need to run some reports to get the data on what's going on. Cause I was coming in and I was kind of getting a sense that how's everybody feeling? What's the vibe for today? But I wasn't then looking at people's performance. I was just relying on my gut.
Right.
And again, as a new manager, and boy, she was all over me when it came to making sure that, look, you've got to have the numbers to manage this business. You've got to run the numbers, and you've got to make sure that again, coming back to the data. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Is there, we've talked a lot. Is there, like, what message would you have for somebody maybe out there that doesn't like the numbers, like doesn't like to look at studying the numbers?
No, love the numbers, everybody. All right. I feel like I was getting down on data for a minute there, but I as someone who is just a big believer in meritocracy and a big believer in, keep the power. Don't give someone else your power. Hold that power. Use your power. Be the person that creates change for yourself, right? Numbers will only help you do that. And so what we talked about earlier, which is reduction to the ridiculous.
Yes.
Knowing your numbers and knowing how you can achieve your goals, so important, especially in, a meritocracy friendly environment like Wrench. We lay out so many tools for people to be successful. You have to you have to grab that and you have to take it and you have to run with it. And the data helps you do that. Knowing your numbers will allow you to be more intentional, more specific, more driven even, right? Assuming that you don't get stuck in your head. But it'll allow you to go and achieve the things that you need to achieve. I think that companies that allow for a meritocracy environment that are data-driven, they're really giving you all the tools that you need to be successful. And so it's really a blessing when you have a setup like that because, again, when you have the numbers, you have the direction. It becomes so much easier.
Yeah, remind our listeners, what is a meritocracy?
So a meritocracy is when your compensation is equal to your contribution. It is when your paycheck is representative of what you're bringing to the table. An easy example of that, right, is it's a piecemeal compensation, which is if I sell 20 widgets, I make $20. For every widget I sell, I get another $1. It's a very easy example of meritocracy. Not really how we do things here, but we do make it so that as you produce more and as you contribute more, you're able to move up in the company and make more money. And it's a meritocracy is a great thing when you have the drive to go and get after it, right? It's how I got to where I am today. It can be so easy to get stuck in a job where you feel underappreciated and underpaid and feel like you're stuck. That stuck feeling. Oh my gosh! Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself.
Right.
I'm about to go on a tangent here, but it is such, I cannot emphasize this enough. It's such a blessing to work in a meritocracy because the company is giving you the power.
That's great.
And oh my gosh, when they give you the power and the data, go nuts.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes. Well, I think we've done a lot with this one. I think we've covered it a lot. Again, I'll just say the common service language one more time, which is in God we trust, and for everything else, bring me data. Now I'll reiterate the fact that data can be both a blessing and a curse, as we've talked about today. It is absolutely a blessing to know where you stand. It is absolutely a blessing to know and have factual evidence of, am I achieving my goal or am I missing? It's look at it, okay, and then let it go. It also can be a curse if you hold on to it too much, if you allow it to consume you, if you allow it to create angst inside of you. So it is a wonderful thing to have a company that is data-driven. Understand that data and numbers serve a purpose. They serve a purpose. It's not your purpose, though. So as we end every podcast, we end it with the fact that I'm a person that is always looking to make my future bigger than my past, always working on myself like you are, Amanda. And to quote Jim Rohn, that if you want to earn a living, work hard at your job. And if you want to make a fortune, work hard on yourself. I think this podcast and all that we do is all about improving yourself, working on yourself, making yourself better so that you can make a fortune. And that fortune could be a fortune in relationships, could be a fortune in well-being, could be a fortune financially. It's really up to you and what is it that you want. So with that, team, we're going to close, and I'm signing off. And for Amanda, team, here's to a bigger future. Thank you very much.